Sometimes the longest journeys are not across oceans, but through the collapse of illusions we once held sacred. They say love conquers all. But what happens when love becomes the very reason you lose yourself? Traveling thousands of miles for love, a pregnant wife finds her billionaire husband with his mistress and leaves, they say. True. Love can make a person travel great distances, crossing oceans and mountains, just for one more glimpse of the one who owns their heart. But what happens when those trembling steps toward a blissful reunion lead only to betrayal? Evelyn Reyes, pregnant and vulnerable, journeys thousands of miles to surprise her billionaire husband, Nathan Hale, only to discover his entanglement with a beguiling mistress. Not just a fleeting affair, but something deep enough to steal the life she thought was hers. The shock of that moment shatters her world, leaving her with no choice but to walk away from the life she thought she knew. Evelyn's story unfolds as an epic saga of heartbreak, resilience, and daring self-discovery. A tale not just about a broken marriage, but about a woman who must rebuild herself from the wreckage. Evelyn Reyes stared at the flickering seatbelt sign above her head, feeling a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Her fingers trembled slightly on the armrest, clutching it like a lifeline against the whirlwind of emotions spinning inside her. She was nearly 7 months pregnant and had defied her doctor's orders to take this long flight from Barcelona to Miami. Friends had begged her to wait. Her OBGYN had warned her about stress and swelling, but the pull of Nathan, or the ghost of him, had overpowered logic. She couldn't wait any longer to see her husband, Nathan Hale, a billionaire real estate mogul known to grace the covers of major magazines like Forbes and Fortune. Over the last few months, his phone calls had become alarmingly brief, his texts sporadic. The time difference and his supposed business expansions had provided him with ample excuses for not returning her calls on time. He had started to sound like a stranger, polite, efficient, careful, not the man who used to whisper, "I love you," just to hear her blush. But a gnawing feeling told her something else was at play. Despite the weight of her pregnant belly, Evelyn tried to find the most comfortable position she had paid extra for in business class. She couldn't shake the sense that Nathan was hiding something monumental. He had always prided himself on transparency, showing her every new skyscraper blueprint, every charity gala invitation, and even letting her meet important figures like Warren Buffett's longtime advisor on one of their honeymoon trips. He once told her, "You'll never be the last to know anything in my life." And yet here she was, last and likely lied to. Yet over the last few months, something had shifted. Instead of hearing about new acquisitions, Evelyn was receiving vague responses and receipts for luxury items she'd never saw, watches she'd never touched, lingerie she'd never worn, dinners charged to private clubs she'd never stepped foot in. There was also a suspicious text message she once glimpsed on his phone screen. "I miss you. B. Last night was unforgettable." From a contact named simply EP. Evelyn replayed that moment in her mind constantly. She had hoped it was a misunderstanding, perhaps a business partner, or a friend who used affectionate language. She even tried to push it aside and trust her husband, but it had festered in her thoughts. And when she confided in her best friend, Lena Marshall, about the cryptic text, Lena advised her to go to Miami unannounced. "If everything's fine, it'll be a great surprise," Lena had said. "But if your gut feeling is right, it's better to know now than later." The flight had been turbulent, both physically and emotionally. Each time Evelyn felt the plane lurch, she cradled her belly and soothed her unborn baby girl, whispering words of comfort. A part of her feared the stress might harm the baby, but the burning need for the truth outweighed every warning. By the time the plane touched down, Evelyn's heart thumped in her chest. She tried calling Nathan from the airport, but his number went straight to voicemail. With trembling hands, she texted him again. "I've landed in Miami. Hope to see you soon, my love." Then, determined to keep a brave face, she hailed a cab. A short while later, she would step into her worst nightmare, a scene that would irrevocably change her life. Evelyn's driver pulled up to the Azure Tower, a lavish high-rise that Nathan had purchased during an extravagant bidding war. As the glass doors slid open, Evelyn was greeted by the building's concierge, a gray-haired man named Marcos. His warm smile faltered slightly when he saw her pregnant belly and recognized her face, but he recovered quickly, clearing his throat. "Miss Reyes, welcome back," he said, bowing his head respectfully. Evelyn's eyes flickered with uncertainty. She had visited the penthouse only once before, during a whirlwind weekend with Nathan. At the time, it had been devoid of furniture, but the panoramic view of the Miami coastline was unforgettable. She recalled how Nathan had casually mentioned wanting to fill the penthouse with modern art and perhaps name it Evie's Sanctuary. That memory stung her heart. Now, where did that sweet husband go? She pressed the elevator button. The golden doors slid shut around her. A million scenarios whirled in her head. The entire ride felt suffocatingly slow. Evelyn rubbed her belly, whispering a silent prayer that all her suspicions would prove false. Yet the fear in her gut wouldn't relent. The elevator chimed, and the doors opened to a private corridor with double doors that led directly into the penthouse. She fished out the key card Nathan had given her months ago, trying to steady her trembling hand. The red light beeped once, then turned green with a soft click. The doors swung open. Inside, the open-concept living space stretched out like a movie set. Pristine white marble floors, floor-to-ceiling windows, custom Italian furniture in shades of cream and silver. Fresh orchids were arranged elegantly on side tables. In the center of the living room stood a massive sculpture by renowned artist Anish Kapoor, something Nathan must have purchased recently. Evelyn stepped inside, carefully scanning the space for signs of life. At first, it seemed empty. Her heart picked up pace, worry mixing with relief. Maybe Nathan was just out at a meeting. But then she heard laughter, a delicate, feminine sound drifting from the direction of the master suite hallway. Suddenly, high-heeled footsteps clicked across the marble. Evelyn pressed herself against the wall, unsure why she felt the need to hide. Part of her didn't want to face this moment. Unprepared. Her heart was racing, blood roaring in her ears. That's when she saw her. A stunning woman with flowing chestnut hair, wearing an emerald silk robe that barely concealed her figure. The woman, Ela Marin, a name Evelyn would come to learn, moved gracefully through the living room, sipping champagne. She glanced in Evelyn's direction, but Evelyn managed to stay out of sight just in time. Evelyn's phone buzzed in her purse, making her flinch. The sound was loud in the stillness. She quickly switched it to silent and prepared herself. She had to face reality. She stepped out from the shadows, and Ela spun around, their eyes locked in mutual shock. Before Evelyn could say a word, a voice called from the bedroom. "Ela, darling, who's there?" That familiar timbre sent a jolt of icy dread through Evelyn's entire body. Nathan. The next moment felt like slow motion. Nathan emerged from the hallway, dressed only in a half-buttoned shirt, exposing part of his well-toned chest. His face went ashen the instant he saw Evelyn. She stood there, pregnant and vulnerable, thousands of miles from home, her soul crushed by the glimmer of champagne glasses, an unfamiliar woman's robe, and the undeniable proof of betrayal. Nathan's face twisted in panic, but all Evelyn could do was stare at the man she had once believed was her forever. Silence hung in the air like a blade. Ela Marin looked from Evelyn's shocked expression to Nathan's stricken face, and a slow, triumphant smile curled her lips, almost as though she had expected this confrontation. Her eyes sparkled with a quiet smugness, like she was savoring a long-awaited victory. Nathan, however, looked like he wanted to vanish. The color drained from his face. He looked like a man caught in a burning building with no exits. The tension was suffocating. Evelyn's mind felt blank. For months she'd been grappling with suspicion and worry, but nothing prepared her for the raw punch of betrayal. Right in her own husband's home. She summoned her courage and broke the stillness. "Why?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Why would you do this, to me, to our child?" Nathan opened his mouth, but no words came out. Ela stepped forward, leaning casually against the back of a leather couch, swirling her champagne flute as if this were a scene from a soap opera. She didn't try to hide her satisfaction. If anything, she looked mildly entertained, like she'd been waiting for front-row drama. "What did you expect?" her look seemed to say. "I should have known something was off," Evelyn continued, tears welling in her eyes. All the lies, the excuses, the endless business meetings, the silence between us grew louder every day. Nathan raked a hand through his dark hair, his face etched with guilt. "Evelyn, it's not what it looks like," he managed. A classic line that made Isla roll her eyes. She gave a soft laugh under her breath, as if mocking the absurdity of the moment. He tried to come closer, but Evelyn held up a hand, stopping him cold. "It's exactly what it looks like," Evelyn spat, tears spilling onto her cheeks. She glared at the champagne glass Ela was holding. It trembled in Ela's hand, but whether from guilt or satisfaction, Evelyn couldn't tell. "Did you think I wouldn't find out? I'm carrying your child, for God's sake." A muscle twitched in Nathan's jaw. "I never meant for you to get hurt," he said, sounding pathetically unconvincing. His eyes flicked toward Ela, but she offered him no help. In fact, she seemed amused by the entire scene. A flicker of something passed over her face. Regret? No, just boredom. "I need some space," Evelyn choked out, feeling as though she was suffocating. I can't breathe in here. Not with her watching me like I'm part of some twisted show." She turned toward the door, but Nathan rushed forward, grabbing her arm gently. "Please, Evelyn," he pleaded. "Let's talk this through. I'll ask Ela to leave. We can work this out." She wrenched free of his grasp, staggering back, nearly toppling over, if not for Ila's quick reflexes and placing a hand on the small of her back. It was a bizarre moment, being steadied by the very woman who had shattered her marriage. Evelyn flinched away as soon as their skin touched. Evelyn's face burned with humiliation and anger. The baby kicked inside her, as if responding to the turmoil. She pressed a hand against her stomach, taking a shaky breath. "I'm done talking," she whispered, voice cracking. "I don't even know who you are anymore." She turned on her heels and walked out the door, slamming it behind her. The sound echoed like thunder in her ears. On the elevator ride down, tears streamed down her face as she clutched her belly. She wondered if the next step of her life would be just as terrifyingly uncertain. Marcos, the concierge, noticed Evelyn emerging from the elevator in tears. Concern etched into his wrinkled features. He rushed forward. "Miss Reyes, is everything all right? Should I call Mr. Hale for you?" His voice was full of sympathy, but all Evelyn could do was shake her head. "No, Marcos? Please don't tell him anything," she whispered, wiping her eyes. "I just need a cab. Right now, please." He frowned but complied. Within minutes, a sleek black SUV pulled up. Evelyn slid into the back seat, her tears subsiding into silent trembling. She gave the driver the address of a small boutique hotel, one she had stayed at during a previous trip, the Palm Haven Inn, run by a warm, older couple named Claire and Howard Benson. She remembered how Claire had fussed over her, offering tea and extra blankets, when she was there on a short visit last year. The drive took them through the bustling heart of Miami, past towering palm trees, glitzy billboards, and tourists snapping photos. Evelyn stared out the window, numb. She was homeless in a city that was supposed to be her second home, married to a man who was entertaining his mistress in their penthouse. When the SUV finally stopped at the Palm Haven Inn, Evelyn felt a pang of relief upon seeing the ivy-covered facade. She stepped inside, and almost instantly, Claire recognized her. "Evelyn, dear." Claire's eyes moved to Evelyn's visibly pregnant belly. "Oh my goodness, you're expecting, and you look so upset. What's happened?" Evelyn managed a weak smile, forcing back tears. "It's a long story, Claire. I need a room. Just for a few nights. I need some time to figure things out." Claire's motherly concern enveloped Evelyn like a warm hug. She led her to a cozy suite on the second floor, with floral wallpaper and a comfortable armchair by the window. The moment Evelyn closed the door behind her, she sank onto the bed, letting out a shaky breath. She reached for her phone, noticing multiple missed calls from Nathan. Each ring felt like a thorn digging deeper into her heart. She ignored them all. Instead, she dialed her best friend, Lena Marshall, back in Barcelona. Lena answered on the second ring, her voice bright but quickly turning somber when she heard Evelyn sobbing. "Evelyn? What happened? Are you okay? Is the baby all right?" Evelyn explained everything. The flight, the penthouse, Ela Marin. Her friend listened in horrified silence, occasionally letting out disbelieving gasps. "I can't believe he'd do this," Lena said when Evelyn finished. "He always seemed so genuine. He adored you, at least that's what he told everyone. You have to get away from him. Don't let him manipulate you." Tears sprang to Evelyn's eyes again. "I already left. I'm at the Palm Haven Inn. I don't know what to do next." You rest, Lena urged. You're 7 months pregnant and under so much stress. Promise me, you won't make any rash decisions until you've cleared your head. Your baby's health comes first. Evelyn nodded, though Lena couldn't see her through the phone. I promise. After hanging up, Evelyn gazed at the modest room, the bed's patchwork quilt, and the faint scent of lavender from the sachets in the closet made her feel marginally calmer. She didn't know how or when, but she resolved to reclaim control of her life. The next steps would be painful, but they would be hers to decide, finally. The next morning, Evelyn found herself sitting in Claire's cozy kitchen, sipping a cup of chamomile tea. She had barely slept, haunted by images of Nathan and Isla, but Claire's gentle concern provided a soothing balm. Claire was a kind soul, known to all her guests as a confidant with a knack for listening. This morning, her kitchen was filled with the aroma of freshly baked scones, but Evelyn could hardly stomach any food. "Sweetheart," Claire began, ladling more hot water into Evelyn's teacup, "you don't have to tell me everything, but sometimes it helps to talk. I've been married a long time. I know relationships can be complicated." Evelyn exhaled, feeling tears prick her eyes again. She explained the situation in broad strokes: her husband's infidelity, her pregnancy, and her current quandary of not knowing whether to return to Barcelona or stay in Miami to settle matters. Claire listened intently, occasionally shaking her head in dismay. "I've seen your husband's face in the papers," Claire said softly. "Nathan Hale, the billionaire developer, right? He donated quite a bit to that new children's hospital downtown. The press made him out to be a hero." Evelyn snorted bitterly. "Yes, that's him. Philanthropic and charming to the public, a liar in private." Claire reached across the table, placing a comforting hand on Evelyn's. "I'm so sorry. No one deserves that kind of betrayal. But think carefully, dear. You have a child on the way. He or she will need you at your best." Evelyn nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. "I'm trying, but it just feels like my world shattered overnight. Everything I believed in, everything I built my life around, collapsed without warning. I've spent 2 years supporting Nathan's dreams, traveling to meet clients, planning charity events by his side, believing I was his partner in everything, and now I feel so stupid for not seeing this coming." "Don't blame yourself," Claire said firmly. "Trust isn't stupidity. It's love. And sometimes love makes us blind to the storm until we're standing in the rain." Evelyn managed a small smile, appreciating Claire's words. She knew she couldn't stay holed up here forever. She had to decide how to move forward, legally, emotionally, financially. Would she confront Nathan again? Fight for answers he'd likely never give truthfully? Or walk away and rebuild from nothing but dignity? A vibration in her pocket made her jump. She glanced at her phone, another call from Nathan. She ignored it. But then a text popped up. "I've made a horrible mistake. Please come back. I love you. I'll do whatever you want." Evelyn's eyes filled with tears again. Her thumb hovered over the screen, heart clenched. She wished she could believe him, but the memory of Isla's mocking gaze was too fresh, too sharp. Before she could even process the text, another message came through from an unknown number. "This is Isla Marin. We need to talk. It's important." Evelyn stared at the screen, her heart pounding. Why now? Why her? Why would Isla want to talk to her? What new twist could possibly be lurking around the corner? What truth hadn't already burned her to the bone? Torn between curiosity and anger, Evelyn considered deleting Isla's message and changing her phone number, but something held her back. A whisper of instinct, a need to know what still hid behind the curtain. She typed a terse reply. "What do you want?" Within minutes, Isla sent an address, an upscale cafe in South Beach called Café Lumière, and a time. Evelyn felt an internal battle. Her pride screamed no. Her gut whispered, go. Was she truly desperate enough to meet her husband's mistress in a public place? She told herself she needed answers. There had to be a reason Isla was reaching out, and maybe it was something Evelyn needed to hear. Later that afternoon, Evelyn arrived at Café Lumière. The place exuded trendy sophistication with glass chandeliers, pastel walls, and a mouth-watering bakery display at the entrance. She spotted Isla at a corner table near the window. The woman looked glamorous, even in casual attire. Designer sunglasses perched atop her head, a white blouse tucked into slim jeans, and an impossibly flawless complexion. Evelyn instantly felt self-conscious about her own rumpled dress and tired eyes. Isla glanced up as Evelyn approached, offering a small, uncertain smile. "You came," she said, waving a manicured hand at the empty seat opposite her. Evelyn sat down without pleasantries, crossing her arms. "I don't want to be here, so let's just cut to the chase. Why did you contact me?" Isla took a deep breath. "I know I'm the last person you want to see, but there are things you need to know about Nathan. Things that might affect you. You and your baby." Evelyn's jaw tightened. "Spare me the heartbreak. I've already seen enough, if you're hoping to gloat or rub salt in my wounds." "It's not that," Ela interjected, reaching for her iced latte. "Look, I didn't plan on falling for a married man. I know that sounds cliché, but it's the truth. He told me your marriage was basically over, that you were staying in Barcelona permanently, and that he needed companionship here in Miami. I had no idea you were pregnant until very recently." Evelyn felt a surge of anger. "And that made it okay for you to slip into his bed?" Isla winced. "No, I know it was wrong, but I'm trying to be honest. I only found out you were pregnant about a month ago, and by then I was already in too deep. Nathan told me you'd agreed to a separation." "Unbelievable," Evelyn muttered, shaking her head. She believed every word, only because she knew how charmingly manipulative Nathan could be when he wanted something. "So what's this big reveal you dragged me here for?" Ela leaned forward, lowering her voice. "He's not just cheating on you, he's in serious trouble, financial trouble." Evelyn blinked. That was the last thing she expected to hear. Nathan Hale, the billionaire developer, in financial trouble? "Are you sure we're talking about the same man?" Isla nodded grimly. Rummaging through her oversized handbag, she pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. Evelyn glanced inside, seeing documents referencing questionable bank loans, legal claims, and shady partnership deals. One name caught her attention. Darius Lund, a notoriously ruthless venture capitalist rumored to have ties to less than legal activities. "I was with Nathan when he had a meeting with Darius Lund," Isla explained. "The way they talked, it wasn't good. Nathan is desperate to keep his empire afloat. He owes more money than he can cover right now. That's why he's been traveling so much," she said. "He's practically begging wealthy contacts for investments, making promises he can't keep." Evelyn shook her head, disbelief mingled with fear. "So he's possibly looking at bankruptcy. Or worse?" "Worse," Isla said softly. "Lund isn't the type to forgive debts easily. Nathan's in over his head, and I have reason to believe he might try to use you, your family connections in Barcelona, or your unborn child's future trust. Anything to secure more funds." Evelyn felt nauseated. She thought of all the times Nathan had asked about her father's business or her grandfather's estate. She had never taken it seriously. Her side of the family wasn't nearly as wealthy as his, but maybe, in desperation, any angle looked tempting to him. She'd chalked up those questions as idle curiosity, until now. "Why are you telling me this?" Evelyn asked, her voice wavering. Isla looked down, her composure faltering for the first time. Her fingers clutched her napkin too tightly, knuckles white. Then, in a trembling voice, "Because this entire situation feels wrong, and because," she looked up, eyes brimming, "I'm pregnant too." Evelyn's world spun. She clutched the edge of the table, her voice coming out in a whisper. "What did you just say?" "You heard me," Ela said, tears forming in her eyes. "I'm about 2 months along. I found out last week. Nathan doesn't even know yet." The cafe seemed to fade around Evelyn. The chandelier above her blurred. The sound of coffee cups, chatter, gone. All she could see was Isla's lips still moving. The mistress, now claiming another child with her husband. Her voice shook with unbridled rage and horror. You're pregnant with my husband's baby?" Isla didn't deny it. She reached out to cover Evelyn's hand, but Evelyn recoiled. "Don't," she hissed. "I know you have no reason to believe me," Ela pleaded, "but I'm telling you all this because I think you deserve the truth. I'm not looking for your pity. I want to do the right thing, for once." Evelyn stood abruptly, nearly knocking over her chair. She stared at Isla, her mind reeling. Every ounce of her being screamed to run, to protect her unborn child from this maelstrom. Without another word, Evelyn stormed out of the cafe, leaving the folder and its damning contents behind. She didn't want to see or hear anymore. She just needed to escape this brutal reality. Back at the Palm Haven Inn, Evelyn collapsed onto the floral armchair in her suite, her body trembling with anger and disbelief. She couldn't stop replaying Isla's revelation about her own pregnancy. The cruel irony of it all. She had come to Miami to surprise her husband, only to discover his mistress was also carrying his child. She called Lena again, her voice shaky. "You won't believe what happened," she began. She recounted every detail of her meeting with Isla, the folder of incriminating financial documents, and the final bombshell. On the other end, Lena was speechless for several moments. "Evelyn? My God," Lena finally said. "This is insane. Are you okay? How's the baby?" Evelyn placed a protective hand over her belly. "I'm not okay. But the baby's fine. I can feel her moving. She's strong." A swell of love and determination surged in Evelyn's heart as she thought about her daughter. No matter what happened, she had to be strong for this innocent life. "I don't know what to do," Evelyn continued. "I can't even bear the thought of seeing Nathan again. But I need answers. And if what Isla said is true about his financial troubles, that complicates everything. Especially if I divorce him. I'm terrified he'll try something underhanded, given his desperation." Lena clicked her tongue. "You need legal advice, Evelyn. Proper, ironclad legal advice. Pack your bags and come home to Barcelona. We'll find you the best solicitor. Or, if you insist on dealing with this in Miami, find an attorney there first. But whatever you do, don't let Nathan manipulate you into anything." Evelyn nodded, tears pricking her eyes again. "I'll find a lawyer. I'll protect my child. I promise." After the call ended, Evelyn researched family law attorneys in Miami. Her gaze landed on a reputable firm, Caldwell & Monroe, which had glowing reviews and a history of handling high-profile divorces. The name Alexis Monroe appeared repeatedly in testimonials, praised for her tenacity and discretion. Steeling herself, Evelyn made the call. A calm, professional voice answered and scheduled an appointment for the next morning. Evelyn felt a small sense of relief. At least she was doing something concrete, something proactive. She couldn't just be another damsel undone by betrayal. That night, she lay in bed wide awake, fear, heartbreak, and anger warring within her. She remembered the early days of her marriage, how Nathan would surprise her with flowers just because, how he'd fly halfway across the world to spend a weekend with her when her mother fell ill. She had believed in his goodness. Now all of that seemed tainted, a lie. Yet, as her baby kicked inside her, Evelyn found a spark of defiance. She was not going to let this ruin her or her child's future. If Nathan Hale wanted to betray her, so be it. She would not stand idle tomorrow. She would face a lawyer and begin carving out a path forward, one free of Nathan's lies and manipulations. The next morning, Evelyn arrived at Caldwell & Monroe, located in a sleek, glass-sided building in downtown Miami. Her nerves threatened to overwhelm her, but she held her head high. The receptionist greeted her politely and ushered her into a conference room adorned with abstract art and plush leather chairs. A few minutes later, Alexis Monroe entered, a poised woman in her late 30s, clad in a tailored navy suit. She radiated professionalism and confidence. Extending a hand, she greeted Evelyn warmly. "Miss Reyes, I'm so glad you reached out. Please have a seat and make yourself comfortable." Evelyn sat down, smoothing her blouse over her pregnant belly. She immediately felt a sense of relief in Alexis's presence. Once they were settled, Evelyn recounted everything. Her unexpected arrival, discovering Isla Marin, the hints of Nathan's financial troubles, and the mistress's pregnancy. Alexis listened intently, occasionally jotting down notes on a legal pad. "You have several key concerns here," Alexis said when Evelyn finished. "First, the emotional and psychological toll is immense, and I'm sorry you're going through this. But from a legal standpoint, we need to consider how Florida family law applies to your situation. Second, if Mr. Hale's finances are indeed in jeopardy, we should look into protecting your assets, especially any potential inheritance or trust you might have. Third, the unborn child is also a central factor. Typically, Florida law is quite strict about child support and paternity. Finally, if Miss Marin is also pregnant, that could complicate matters related to spousal support and community property." Evelyn's head swam. "I'm overwhelmed," she admitted. "I never thought I'd be discussing divorce and finances like this, not with the father of my child." Alexis offered a compassionate nod. "I understand. You need to decide whether you want to pursue a legal separation or file for divorce. A separation might offer you time to think things through while still legally protecting yourself. If you prefer a clean break, we can file for divorce on grounds of irreconcilable differences. Infidelity isn't always a direct factor in Florida's no-fault divorce system, but it can influence spousal support negotiations, especially if it's linked to financial misconduct. What about his potential debts? Evelyn asked, worry etched on her face. That's why it's crucial we gather as much information as possible, Alexis said. If Mr. Hale is in deep financial trouble, you don't want to be saddled with any personal liability. We can file motions to separate your finances and demonstrate that any new debts he's accruing are not part of the marital estate. We'll need documentation of your personal assets, any joint accounts, and any prenuptial agreements, if you have one. Evelyn recalled the prenuptial agreement they had signed. It was fairly standard, not heavily in Nathan's favor, since he had insisted they share everything. How naive that seemed now. All right, Evelyn said, taking a fortifying breath. I want to move forward with legal separation first. If there's no chance of reconciliation, we can transition to divorce. But I need to protect myself and the baby. I need to ensure we have enough financial support to live without constantly looking over our shoulders. Alexis smiled gently. We can do that. I'll need you to sign some forms to get the process underway. After that, we'll draft a petition for legal separation. This will require Mr. Hale to respond, and we'll have a temporary hearing if necessary for spousal and child support once the baby is born. You're doing the right thing. Relief washed over Evelyn. For the first time since discovering Nathan's betrayal, she felt like she was taking control of her life. Signing the documents made it real. Her marriage was no longer a safe haven, but a battleground she had to navigate carefully. And so, with a few swift signatures, Evelyn Reyes Hale took her first step toward freedom. Leaving Caldwell and Monroe, Evelyn felt a bittersweet sense of empowerment. She was embarking on a journey she never asked for, but one she had to face to protect herself and her unborn child. She clutched the folder of documents that Alexis Monroe had given her, cradling them like a shield as she stepped onto the bustling sidewalk. Camera flashes erupted without warning. A throng of paparazzi materialized, seemingly out of nowhere, snapping photos and shouting questions. Evelyn, is it true Nathan Hale cheated on you? Are you divorcing him? How far along is your pregnancy? Evelyn froze, momentarily blinded by the strobe of flashbulbs. She instinctively placed a hand over her belly, trying to shield her unborn child from the frenzy. Heart hammering, she pushed past the shouting men with cameras, her mind racing. How did they know she was here? She managed to duck into a waiting taxi, slamming the door shut as the paparazzi pressed against the windows. The driver glanced at her in the rearview mirror, a sympathetic twist to his mouth. Where to, ma'am? The Palm Haven Inn, she choked out, tears pricking her eyes. She was too overwhelmed to consider going anywhere else. She needed the safety of Claire's motherly embrace. During the ride, her phone buzzed constantly. She checked the notifications, dozens of missed calls from numbers she didn't recognize. Then a message from an old acquaintance at the Miami Chronicle lit up her screen. Evelyn, I'm so sorry this is happening. Word is, Nathan's PR team leaked that you've left him. The tabloids are feasting on the rumors of another woman. Some even claim you attacked her. Evelyn felt sick. Her personal heartbreak had become a public circus. Her silence was being twisted into scandal, her pain into profit. She turned off her phone entirely, unwilling to entertain the barrage of sensationalism. By the time she arrived at the Palm Haven Inn, Claire was waiting in the lobby, her face etched with worry. Oh, my dear, are you okay? Claire rushed forward, noticing Evelyn's tear-streaked cheeks and the swarm of paparazzi vehicles inching away from the inn's entrance. I saw those men outside. One of them tried to climb over the side fence. I told Howard to shoo them away, but they didn't listen. Evelyn shook her head. No, it's fine. I'm just so tired, so angry, so humiliated. I can't believe this is happening. Nathan, he must be behind these leaks. He's trying to control the narrative before I can. Come, let's get you upstairs, Claire said gently. You need rest. I'll have some warm soup sent up, and lock the windows this time, just in case. Safely in her room, Evelyn locked the door, sank onto the bed, and stared at the ceiling. She couldn't escape this nightmare: her husband's betrayal, his mistress's pregnancy, his looming financial disaster, and now the paparazzi. Reporters shouted her name like it belonged to them. Headlines called her the pregnant heiress left behind. Every click, every photo, every lie, another slice to her already shredded heart. It was all spiraling out of control. She had to stay strong for herself and her child. But in that quiet moment, she allowed herself a few minutes of deep, unrestrained weeping. Not the elegant kind, the guttural, choking sobs that bent her in half. A couple of days passed in relative solitude. Claire and Howard went to great lengths to protect Evelyn's privacy, directing inquisitive reporters away and ensuring only the staff had access to the second floor. Lena texted her constantly, urging her to come back to Barcelona, and Alexis Monroe was busy filing legal paperwork on Evelyn's behalf. One afternoon, Evelyn was reading in bed, trying to distract herself with a historical romance novel, when she heard urgent footsteps in the hallway. She tensed, placing the book aside. A moment later, there was a soft knock on the door. "Evelyn?" came Claire's muffled voice. "I'm sorry to bother you, but your husband is downstairs." Evelyn's breath caught in her throat. She swung her legs over the side of the bed, instantly dizzy with dread. "Nathan, he's here?" "Yes," Claire replied quietly. "He's demanding to see you. He looks quite upset, dear." "What should I do?" Evelyn hesitated. Part of her wanted to bar the door, to never let him near again. But another part, still raw with heartbreak, needed closure. Or at least, an explanation. She hated how even now, the sound of his name stirred something in her chest. Grief, fury, maybe both. Gritting her teeth, she told Claire to let him come up. Moments later, Nathan stepped into her room. He looked disheveled. Dark circles under his eyes, hair messy as though he hadn't slept. His usual poised demeanor was gone, replaced by trembling desperation. He stood at the threshold like a ghost who realized too late the world kept spinning without him. "Evelyn," he croaked, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm so sorry. Please, I need to talk to you." Evelyn stood, arms folded protectively over her belly. Her spine was steel, but her heart was shaking. "You have 5 minutes," she said coolly. Nathan swallowed hard. "I was an idiot. I messed up, I know, and I can't even begin to express how sorry I am. Isla means nothing to me." "Stop lying," Evelyn interjected, anger flashing in her eyes. "She's pregnant with your child." Nathan's mouth fell open in shock. It was clear he hadn't known. After a stunned pause, he ran a hand over his face. "Oh God. I didn't know." "Evelyn, you have to believe me. I never wanted this." Evelyn's chest felt tight. The weight of betrayal pressed like a brick against her lungs. "You betrayed me, you lied, and now you want me to believe your excuses? That's not happening." Nathan ran a hand through his hair, his eyes glistening. "I've been under so much pressure. My business, it's not doing well. I was too proud to ask for help. Isla was just there, and I was weak. But I love you, Evelyn. I don't want to lose you." His voice cracked on the last word like it hurt to say it. Tears sprang to Evelyn's eyes, but she blinked them back. "You already lost me. You lost me the moment I saw you with another woman. In our home, our sanctuary. The only reason you're here now is because everything is unraveling, isn't it? Because you're desperate." Nathan's breath hitched. "Yes, I'm desperate," he admitted. "I'm not too proud to say it, but it's not just about the money. I'm desperate for you to come back. We can fix this." He stepped closer, eyes pleading. "You and I, we can survive this." "We can't fix anything," Evelyn said, her voice trembling. "I've hired a lawyer. We're filing for legal separation." Nathan's face turned white. He sank into the armchair, burying his head in his hands. "Please," he whispered, "give me one more chance." Evelyn shook her head slowly. "I already gave you everything, and you threw it away. Now I have to protect myself, and my baby. If you want to do something right, then don't contest the separation, and don't fight me on child support. That's the only way you can help me now." Nathan looked utterly broken, but Evelyn felt no satisfaction in seeing him this way. Only heartbreak, that the man she once loved more than life itself had caused her so much pain. He stood, attempting to approach her, but she backed away. "Goodbye, Nathan," she managed, her voice tight. "Let me have my peace." He lingered for a moment, as if hoping she'd change her mind, but when she didn't, he walked out, shoulders slumped in defeat. The moment he was gone, Evelyn collapsed onto the bed, gripping her belly, tears streaming down her face. She felt the baby move again, as if in empathy. Stroking her bump, Evelyn whispered, "We'll be okay, my sweet girl. We'll find our way." In the days following Nathan's visit, Evelyn found herself the target of relentless media coverage. Photos of her leaving Caldwell and Monroe leaked online, fueling rumors that she was gearing up for a massive divorce settlement. Journalists camped outside the Palm Haven Inn day and night, hoping to snap a picture of the scorned pregnant wife. Isla Marin's name also surfaced in the tabloids, rumored to be pregnant with Nathan's child. The press had a field day, comparing Evelyn's and Isla's looks, speculating about which woman Nathan would choose. Evelyn found the coverage sickening and invasive. Lena called frequently, urging Evelyn to return to Barcelona. Her mother also pleaded for her to come home. Evelyn wrestled with the decision. Part of her longed to flee this toxic environment and find solace in her homeland, but her legal situation was precarious. Alexis Monroe had advised her to stay in Florida until the separation was formally filed and recognized. Fleeing to Spain might complicate jurisdiction over child support. Evelyn also wrestled with whether to appear on a talk show to defend herself. Offers poured in from media outlets wanting an exclusive interview. She declined them all. She refused to turn this heartbreak into a public spectacle. Still, the stress weighed on her heavily. One afternoon, she felt faint while trying to dodge paparazzi outside. Alarmed, Claire insisted she visit a doctor for a checkup. At the hospital, a kindly obstetrician named Dr. Rebecca Johnson, whom Evelyn recognized from her volunteer stints at the same charity events Nathan once hosted, did a thorough examination. "Your baby is healthy," Dr. Johnson assured her, "but your blood pressure is a bit elevated. Stress can do that. You need to rest, Evelyn, for both of you." Evelyn nodded, tears welling in her eyes. She was relieved her baby was okay, but the constant harassment was taking a toll. The body could only take so much. So could the soul. Returning to the Palm Haven Inn, she mustered her resolve once more. She would see this through. She would finalize her separation, secure her child's future, and then she would leave Miami behind. Leave behind the betrayal, the cameras, and the man who burned everything they built. One evening, while staring at the city lights from her window, Evelyn received an unexpected call from Darius Lund, the man rumored to be pressuring Nathan financially. She nearly let it go to voicemail, but curiosity got the better of her. The moment she answered, the silence on the line sent a chill down her spine. Then, "Miss Rise," came the smooth, chilling voice on the other end. "I believe we should talk about your husband's obligations." A wave of dread washed over her. The voice was too calm, too controlled, the kind that belonged to someone who never asked twice. "I have nothing to do with Nathan's debts," she said firmly, "and I have no intention of discussing them with anyone." Darius chuckled, a cold sound. "I'm afraid you do. Under Florida's community property laws, your husband's liabilities might become relevant to you, especially if he's trying to stash assets or shift them into your name." Evelyn stiffened. Could Nathan have tried something underhanded without her knowledge? "What, are you suggesting he's laundering money through me?" "I'm suggesting," Darius said, his tone like ice cracking underfoot, "that if he is, the courts won't care who knew and who didn't. They'll come after everything, including your daughter's future." Evelyn's pulse pounded in her ears. "Whatever he's done, it's not my responsibility," she said, her voice trembling. "It could be, if you remain married," Darius replied with unnerving calm. "I strongly suggest you expedite your legal separation, or you may find yourself entangled in lawsuits, ones that could endanger your child's future." His voice dropped to a whisper, deadly quiet. "If you need confirmation, ask your husband how desperate he truly is. He might be trying to funnel money through your family's Barcelona trusts." The call ended abruptly, leaving Evelyn shaking. It felt less like a warning and more like a threat. She immediately dialed Alexis Monroe, relaying what had happened. Alexis was alarmed, promising to file additional paperwork to protect Evelyn's assets. They would accelerate the legal separation timeline, and Alexis put Nathan on notice. Any attempt to involve Evelyn in his debts would be met with legal force. In that moment, Evelyn realized the full extent of Nathan's betrayal wasn't just emotional. It was a potential financial entrapment that threatened to swallow her life. She resolved to fight back with everything she had. She was no longer the meek wife. She was a mother protecting her child. Weeks passed in a blur of legal filings and emotional turmoil. Evelyn stayed mostly secluded, only venturing out for doctor's appointments and meetings with Alexis. Claire and Howard continued to shield her from the paparazzi as best they could, while Lena provided emotional support from thousands of miles away. During this time, Evelyn received sporadic texts from Ela Marin, the other woman. Most were simple updates about her own pregnancy, ultrasound appointments, morning sickness, the dread of public scrutiny. Evelyn never replied, but she read them. Some nights she'd reread them twice. Not out of sympathy, but because somewhere deep down, Ela's loneliness mirrored her own. Oddly, there was a strange kinship forming, a bond forged by betrayal and heartbreak. They were both pregnant. Both used by the same man. Then one afternoon, Ela appeared at the Palm Haven Inn, slipping past the paparazzi. Claire, not recognizing her at first, allowed her in. Evelyn was stunned to find Ela in the lobby, looking visibly pale and distraught. The makeup-free face, the swollen eyes. She looked like a woman unraveling familiar territory. "Please, don't throw me out," Ela said, voice trembling. "I just need to talk to you. I have nowhere else to go." Against her better judgment, Evelyn led Ela into the garden area for a private conversation. Ela looked thinner, her usually flawless hair pulled back into a simple ponytail. She was about 4 months pregnant now, a slight curve visible under her loose shirt. Her hands trembled as she folded them in her lap. Evelyn noticed, and hated that she noticed. "What do you want?" Evelyn asked, arms crossed. "I ended things with Nathan," Ela said softly. "He tried to convince me we could raise the child together, but I can't trust him. I'm going to raise this baby on my own." She took a shaky breath. "I just wanted you to know that, whatever happens with you and Nathan, I'm not going to interfere in your life again. I'm not after money. I just want peace." Evelyn studied Ila's face, seeing genuine remorse, but also the exhaustion. The bruises betrayal leaves behind, even when you're the one who helped deliver them. She felt a pang of empathy. Ela, too, was a victim of Nathan's manipulations, though she'd played a part in the affair. "Thank you for telling me," Evelyn said quietly, "but I can't say I forgive you, not yet." Ela nodded, tears glistening. "I don't expect forgiveness, but I am sorry for everything." She left soon after, and Evelyn watched her go, conflicting emotions swirling in her chest. She didn't want to befriend Ela, but in a twisted way, their lives were intertwined through Nathan's choices. Both of them carried a piece of him, yet neither wanted him in their lives anymore. It was a sobering realization. The day of the temporary separation hearing arrived. Evelyn, dressed in a simple black maternity dress, her stomach now very pronounced, stood tall beside Alexis, who had prepped her extensively, explaining she might need to testify briefly about the state of the marriage and her need for immediate spousal support. Walking into the courtroom, Evelyn felt her pulse pounding. Nathan was there, flanked by his own legal team. He looked gaunt, stress etched into every line of his face. He avoided Evelyn's gaze, staring instead at the polished courtroom floor. The hearing was swift, with both sides presenting evidence of the marriage breakdown. Alexis argued passionately that Evelyn needed financial support until the baby's birth, especially given her lack of steady income, having devoted herself fully to Nathan's hectic lifestyle. Nathan's lawyers tried to argue that his finances were in flux, but Alexis countered with evidence that he still held majority shares in several real estate developments. The judge, a stern woman with silver hair, listened patiently, then ruled in Evelyn's favor. Nathan was to pay a monthly allowance sufficient to cover her expenses, plus a lump sum for prenatal medical costs. After the hearing, Nathan approached Evelyn in the corridor, his shoulders hunched in defeat. "Congratulations," he said bitterly. "You won." Evelyn glared at him. "This isn't about winning, Nathan. This is about doing the right thing for our child." He opened his mouth to reply, but no words came out. The look in his eyes resembled regret. Then he turned and walked away, swallowed by the throng of attorneys and onlookers. As Evelyn watched him go, she felt something close to pity. Pity for the man who had it all and threw it away. Weeks turned into a month, and Evelyn's due date loomed. The paparazzi drama began to wane as newer celebrity scandals occupied the tabloids. She continued to stay at the Evelyn had formed a deep bond with Claire and Howard, who treated her like family. One crisp morning, Evelyn woke with an ache in her back and a peculiar tightening in her belly. Within hours, those sensations escalated into full-blown contractions. Panicked, yet excited, Claire and Howard rushed her to the hospital, where Dr. Rebecca Johnson was waiting. Labor was intense, amplified by the emotional upheaval of recent months, but Evelyn summoned all her strength. After hours of pushing, a feeble cry filled the delivery room. A nurse placed a tiny, wriggling bundle in Evelyn's arms, a baby girl with a downy tuft of dark hair. Tears of joy streamed down Evelyn's face as she cradled her daughter. In that precious moment, all thoughts of betrayal and heartbreak vanished, replaced by overwhelming love and devotion. She named the baby Charlotte, after her grandmother. Over the next few days, Claire, Howard, and even Lena, who had flown in from Barcelona, took turns visiting. They showered Evelyn and little Charlotte with love and support. Nathan, who had been notified of the birth by Alexis, sent a bouquet of white roses and a note. Evelyn hesitated before reading it. "Congratulations on our daughter. I hope one day she will understand. I never meant for this to happen. Nathan." Evelyn shed a quiet tear, not for Nathan, but for the ghost of the man she once believed in. She would never erase Nathan from Charlotte's life entirely. He was her father, after all. But Evelyn would ensure her daughter grew up knowing she was cherished, no matter the circumstances of her parents' marriage. Finally, a week after Charlotte's birth, Evelyn received word that the legal separation was formalized. She was free from Nathan's immediate financial entanglements and recognized as the primary custodian of Charlotte. The final divorce papers would be processed in time, but she had taken the first step toward a new life. On her last day at the Palm Haven Inn, Evelyn packed her belongings and paused to look around the cozy room that had sheltered her through her darkest times. Claire and Howard embraced her tearfully, promising to keep in touch. Lena helped carry baby Charlotte's gear as they loaded up a taxi. "Where to now?" Lena asked, settling into the seat beside Evelyn, who held Charlotte gently in her arms. Evelyn looked down at her daughter, a soft smile lighting her face. "Back to Barcelona. For now, I need to start fresh, away from this city of pain and painful memories, but I'll return, if needed, to finalize everything. My life isn't tied to a place anymore. It's tied to this little angel." Lena nodded, eyes warm with understanding. As the taxi pulled away, Evelyn felt a bittersweet pang. She thought of the long journey she had taken, from a trusting wife to a heartbroken woman, and finally to a mother determined to stand on her own. She had traveled thousands of miles for love, only to find betrayal. But in her darkest hour, she had found an unwavering strength within herself. And that, she realized, was the greatest gift she could give her daughter. The example of a woman who refused to be defined by heartbreak, who found the courage to leave and to begin again. Evelyn's story reminds us that sometimes, even the most devastating betrayals can lead to incredible breakthroughs of self-discovery and courage. She journeyed thousands of miles, pregnant and hopeful, only to be met with heartbreak. Yet from those shattered illusions, she forged a new path, one rooted in self-reliance and love for her daughter, Charlotte. Her decision to leave Nathan Hale and protect her child wasn't just an escape. It was an act of defiance against the lies that once held her captive. Ultimately, Evelyn's resilience and unwavering will showcase the power of a woman standing tall, even when her world crumbles. Because strength isn't always loud, it's sometimes holding your baby with tear-stained cheeks and whispering, "We're going to be okay." Dear friend, if you're still here, maybe it's because some part of Evelyn's journey mirrors your own, or someone you love. Life, as the Stoics remind us, doesn't promise ease or fairness. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Evelyn couldn't control Nathan's betrayal, but she could choose how to rise from its ashes, and she chose love, dignity, and a future rooted in truth. Whatever chapter you're in right now, whether you're healing, rebuilding, or still standing in the ruins, I hope you remember this. Heartbreak may crack us open, but it also lets the light in. And sometimes, that light is the beginning of your greatest transformation. If Evelyn's story moved you, please consider liking this video, sharing it with someone who might need to hear it, and subscribing to our channel. We're here to tell stories that remind us we're not alone.